We stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Schaefer. Here. Winkler. Here. Mottola. Here. Clay. Here. Appleyard. Here. Wakefield. Here. Bush. Here. Campbell. Here. Tedford. Here. Peterson. Here. Latender. And Gingras. You have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anybody here for citizens forum? No? Okay. Executive session. Are we here? All right. Presentations by administration. Why don't we start with our rodeo winners? Where's Bob?
Maybe a little cheat sheet there too.
You did? Oh, good. That's what I was looking for.
No, I didn't do that part of it. I did it this way.
Yeah, just give us Bob, can you just give us a little explanation as to what these guys did?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Every year, the Connecticut Association of Street and Highway Officials sponsors a snowplow rodeo, and it's a skills-based test of snowplow drivers from municipalities all over the state. And there are a number of different classes of vehicles that people compete in, 10-wheel trucks, 6-wheel trucks, small dumps, pickup trucks, and they even have a class for Ford Escapes, if we got a little 6-foot plastic plow for them, which I keep threatening. But and for a lot of years, we've been going down to the state snowplow rodeo, and Jeff Schambach, who's the road foreman, has led this effort. He's on the board of directors of CASHO, the Connecticut Association of Street and Highway Officials. And around about October, Jeff sets up the course in the yard. We have tryouts, and the top 3 or 4 guys are selected to go. They go down, they compete, and if we're fortunate enough to win the state winning municipality, we have sent guys to the New England Regional Snowplow Rodeo, which is usually held in Massachusetts, and we went there this year too. So other than that, I'll give it back to you.
Well, why don't you give us a description of who won, for what class?
Okay, since I don't remember all these things, Jeff will do that.
All right. For here in the state, we ended up with 2 third-place trophies. Tim Moriarty with the 6-wheel division, Paul Prouty with the Mason dump, and then we had a 2nd place. Jim Jardis was with the pickup truck, and Pete Lesniak took the 10-wheeler and took 1st place in that. We also took they also got 2 other plaques for Best in Show for the vehicles. Not only do we go down there and compete, but we also work hard to make sure the vehicles are in tip-top shape and looking condition. And then we moved on to the regionals in New England, and out of 23, we placed 3rd.
Congratulations, guys, and it's great to see that you keep our skills up as well. So, good job. Are these all from this year? Yes. Well, congratulations.
there's a spare mayor and on the second place in the New England Regional, and the boys would like you to have it up here for Town Hall. And since their contract's in negotiation, I'm sure they want you to put it right next to your desk. But interestingly enough, in prior years, this is our 5th out of 8 year that we have been the winning municipality in the state of Connecticut. And we had a second place in the New England Regionals a couple of years ago. So if anybody, on the council or watching, if their mailbox gets hit, it wasn't us. So.
Yeah, you'll hit a house. Oh, yeah. Well, congratulations, guys. Thank you for coming tonight. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks, Bob. All right. We're going to take some of the trophies. I think we'll take some of the trophies because we're going to continue with the meeting.
Could use a couple more.
Thank you, guys. I just want to let you know that at our next town council meeting on December 15th, that'll be the traditional mayor's holiday party. I hope everybody can stay and enjoy some holiday cheer. During the month of November, I attended the Veterans Day luncheon sponsored by the Elks Lodge. A great time was had by all. Polly was there as well. Thank you to Chet Morgan and the Elks for sponsoring such a worthwhile event. Upcoming event, the Vernon Fire Department is sponsoring their annual Toys for Tykes toy campaign. Donations of new toys and clothing are requested. Town buildings have donation boxes here at Town Hall, the boxes in the lobby. Please consider donating to the very important event for the Vernon families. Parks and Recreation has 2 events this coming weekend. Children's Holiday Festival at Center 375 is Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And also on Saturday is the Arctic Splash. That's a fundraiser. Hopefully everybody can go jump into Valley Falls. It starts at 1 p.m. All are encouraged to participate. And reminder, Winterfest in Central Park is this Friday with the traditional tree lighting. We have a light parade and the unveiling of the new Santa house. The light parade, all the fire trucks are going to have Christmas lights on them, and we're going to pick out which one we like the best. All are welcome. Come join us at the Carol Sing to begin at 5:30 p.m. and the parade will begin at 6. We hope you can join us this Friday. Thank you. All right, consent agenda items? Yes. Polly?
One thing, on December 12th, before our next meeting, we'll be having wreaths across America, and we will be getting together at Grove Hill Cemetery.
What, that's the 12th, right?
Yes, the 12th.
I have to say something about that. Actually, our magazine's coming out tomorrow, and we have a nice article in there on it.
Okay.
December 12th.
If you want to join us, it's between 11:15 and 11:30, and at 12 o'clock, everybody has a moment of silence clear across America for it.
Excellent.
Honoring our veterans.
Thank you. Steve?
Your Honor, move the consent agenda.
Seconded by Laura. Any questions? Anybody want to pull one? No? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. New business number 1.
Resolved, the Vernon Town Council hereby approves the purchase of street light fixtures from Eversource and the conversion to LED streetlights for a cost not to exceed $912,462, and hereby authorizes Town Administrator John D. Ward to enter into any agreement with Tanco, T-A-N-K-O Lighting to execute any and all necessary documents for same. Further resolved, the town council approves and authorizes internal financing from the general fund to the Reserve for Capital and Non-Recurring Expenditures account in the amount of $912,462 for the acquisition and retrofitting of the streetlight fixtures, utilizing a 5-year payback period, with repayment to come from rebate incentives and annual energy savings in the general fund traffic authority appropriation.
Seconded by Bill. Questions? Mr. Winkler.
Yes, just a procedural question to the mayor. Does this money leave the reserve the minute we appropriate it, or does it only leave the reserve when we actually spend it?
Jim.
To the mayor,
Through the mayor to Jim.
the money that we're appropriating, $912,462, does that leave the reserve fund the minute we appropriate it, or does it only leave when we actually spend
Are
it?
you asking me, or are you going to ask Jim?
I'm asking you. You can direct it anywhere you want.
Why don't you ask through me to Jim, please?
Jim?
Okay, through the mayor, the monies will, we'll hold on to the monies and reserve them until expenditures are required. And then we move them over to the capital non-recurring account. And then that's where they'll get spent as invoices are submitted.
How long will this take to switch them over?
Depends on the ordering time and then
Hold on
the
a
weather.
second. You know, we're doing procedurally. It's through the chair, Mr. Winkler. I know you don't want to do it, but we did this in our rules, and this is part of Robert's rules.
I read your Robert's rules, and I also read our
You wanna
rules
ask
of order.
questions?
I'm going to ask you the questions. You can delegate them anywhere you want.
Then I'm going to tell you I don't know, and you can move on to your next question.
Okay? How long will it take to effect the changeover from the I guess carbon arc lights to the LED lights?
I'm not sure.
Alrighty. With the appropriation of this $912,462 and the two pieces of property we bought in October, or appropriated the money for, it's $1,382,462. What I would like to know is what level can our reserve fund drop to before Moody's or other bond rating firms begin to look at us strangely and maybe increase the interest rates on our bonds because they're not rated as highly?
They're not going to. All this was taken into consideration ahead of time.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Do you mean Moody's knew about this the last time they looked at us?
Jim, I'm going to ask you that.
All right, through the mayor, this particular project, it doesn't impact fund balance as a percentage of revenues because it's internal financing from the town. So what'll happen is it's a cash flow situation. So the monies will, so it doesn't affect the balance sheet. It's a receivable will be set up for during the 5 years, and when the savings come in, it'll be probably less than 5 years. The payback period will be there. So this does not. Those other appropriations you mentioned would have an impact on reserves, but this one does not. This is just again, the whole intent of this project is to make an investment and then with energy savings repay the town within that 5-year period.
Through the mayor, if if you testified during the second educational administrator's contract that we had $12 million in the reserve fund. Could I know what the balance is today, and what point is our spending, I guess, what balance do we need to maintain for good credit rating with Moody's?
Yeah, I'll come back.
I'm sorry.
When we account the two purchases that we made that you're talking about, we also took into account extra income that came into the town. All right, and it equaled out.
Okay, my question still stands though. How much money do we need to have in the reserve fund before Moody's and other people begin to look at us sideways? Pardon?
Go ahead, Jim, I'll let you answer it.
Through the mayor, when we're dealing with the rating agencies, as you mentioned, what we've been trying to do for bonds and what have you is to maintain a minimum of 10%. We're at 13.9%.
I'm sorry, what?
Of projected revenues for the year. So we're at 13.9%, or we're at approximately $12.1 million. And so, and as the mayor just added, the purchase right now through the almost 5 months of the current year, we're still ahead of the game, even with those additional appropriations, because of other revenues that we received.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to either Mr. Kleinhans or Mr. Ludeking. I have a couple questions. Many times doing something like this gives you opportunities for grants. Are we putting any, have we put in any grants to be able to get some of our funding back for this project?
There are no grants available for this, but there are rebates. And
Rebates,
we will
okay.
put in, we're anticipating $177,000 to come back against the total in the form of rebates.
And this is a definite thing. This is not something we have to apply for.
They have to be applied for, but that's why we have chosen the vendor, because they have experience in obtaining those grants, and they're doing a number of other towns in Connecticut and are one of the 3 approved vendors from the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities when they had an RFQ to select vendors.
Okay. Question?
Go ahead.
I understand there's going to be quite a bit of savings. Can you give me an estimate of what the savings would be over maybe like a 20-year period plus?
$3.6 million.
So we'd be saving the town
$3.6 million.
over that 20 years?
Yes.
And that would be including all the costs?
That would be after cost, net savings of $3.6 million.
Thank you. I'm done.
Ian?
Through the mayor, to Mr. Kleinhans, has any thought been given at this point as to the kind of LED lighting, that is the number of angstroms, is it on the blue range or, and I raise this point only because I know in thinking about stemming public opinion, many people are bothered by the blue of lighting of the glare, the glare of the range.
This is 4,300 Kelvin. It's a white. There's no glare, or there's very little glare compared to the yellow high pressure sodium. Give me a second to talk to that. Just have to find the LEDs cast a brighter, broader spectrum light with better color rendering. I have some quotes from the Dark Sky Society, which I'm sure you're aware of, and their preference for this type of lighting over, here we go. The International Dark Sky Association is more concerned about another kind of energy. They organize the lobby worldwide for a return to the truly dark night skies that existed long ago. Cite studies showing our nighttime light pollution is responsible for all sorts of modern day problems, from disruption of animal mating and migration patterns to sleep deprivation and people whose circadian rhythms are thrown out of whack.
No, my question wasn't that.
They're saying that the switched LED streetlights will they're not saying that the switched LED streetlights will completely erase light pollution. Sodium lamps in privately owned parking lots remain a problem, but they say that the reduction in light pollution should be significant.
No, if I may, the question was not the comparison between the sodium lights and the LED lights. It was within LED lights, there's a range of angstroms that ranges from about 2,000 to 5,000. I believe on the 2,000 range, it's a yellow color it gives off, and when you get to the 5,000 range, it's a blue color. And it's that blue color that bothers people, especially older people, because of the glare. So 43, so you're closer to the blue range. If I'm
Closer, but not there.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
the original ones were higher. They were in the 6,000 range, and those were the ones that were really the problem, as I understand it. These are more of a middle.
Okay. All right.
I've seen these lights there were several lights that were set up as examples in West Hartford. They have 3 distinct separate trial areas on Farmington Avenue. This was the best lighting and the best color and the best performance of the 3 major manufacturers of lights. I went out and took a look at them at night, saw them all. It's the cleanest light that I saw. And they do the vendors and a lighting engineering firm, they do a full analysis of every street light and what the implication of the wattage is going to be on the people that live there. And it's a very sensitive process. If there's any glare to houses, there are shields that can be applied to remediate that. And some of the references that I obtained in the other communities they've done business, they've been very forthright in getting that done.
Steve.
Thank you. Through the mayor, the company that provides these is out in California. Have they surveyed the area in Connecticut, or do they have an agent here or something like that? That's what I was.
Yes.
They did, or they do have an agent or something?
They performed an audit for us.
They came out?
Yes. And they have audited, GPS located, identified, evaluated every street light in town, verified the count, verified the wattage, the type of it, and that will all be engineered into their solution as we move forward.
Okay, this was the California outfit.
Tanco, yes.
Okay.
And they have a project manager who's based out of California, but will be here see, the problem is this all came to light back in 2014, so to speak. And CCM did this program, and now towns are rushing to get this done, and they've overloaded Eversource to come up with evaluations on the streetlight fixtures and what we have to buy. Eversource is supposed to produce that information within 60 days. It took us 5 months, and we were about the first or second town to get that information.
Okay.
You then have a 3-month period to exercise your option to buy it, or Eversource reserves the right to go out and start the audit over again. They don't want to do this. This is not good for them, because in case I mentioned, we're saving $3.7 million. That's their money, they see it as.
Yep.
So all these towns are in the audit stage, the testing stage, the signing up, getting their councils to go for it stage. So they're not in the doing the project stage yet. We will be one of the first to get, East Hartford is all done, they did it differently. Plainville's done, they did it differently. Stanford's done some relamping, and they did that a couple of years ago. But in this CCM program, we'll be one of the first really getting into putting lights on poles. And they'll have local contractors, they'll have local hires, and then they'll have the folks from California who have been out here probably every 2 weeks. The director of sales, who's worked with me on this for probably 7 months, just happens to be on vacation this week, and it needed to get to you because every day we don't do this, we're losing money. Because you'll save $18,000 a month. So if I can get this in tonight and not have to wait another month, that's 18,000 bucks. And I know a lot of you are somewhat on the pecunious, you don't like to spend money you don't have to. So that's why it was important to get in here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Questions? Bill?
Through you, Your Honor. Mr. Kleinhans, could you give us a description of this project? That is, what does the money buy? How did we get to where we are now? What do we get for the money? What about maintenance? Who owns the poles, the street lights? What is the...
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Through you, Your Honor. So we have a number that Eversource gave us that is their depreciated value of their equipment, their net value of their equipment. It's in the $330,000 range. We have to write them a check. For that, we get the heads, we get the wiring that's there, we get to feed the lamp, we get the arm, and we're buying 83 poles that are either that are singular to street lights. There's no power on them, there's no phone, there's no cable. They're just street light poles. So they could be in subdivisions. They used to do a program called Light the Night, and it was a fiberglass pole with a fixture on the top. We'd be buying that pole. It could be a pole like in back at Town Hall that they have a fixture on and it just has a light. We buy that pole, 83 of them. 1,854 fixtures we would buy, okay? And then that takes, when we buy them, we're currently paying a rate that's like a leased rate. You get the fixture, you get the power, you get the maintenance, and they charge you $282,000 a year for all the street lights in town. Now, we buy the lights. We own that. We don't pay that rate. We pay a different rate. And that rate is strictly the electricity. And our estimates on that cost are it's in the package, $55,000. There's your savings. Now you have to buy the equipment and have it put on the pole. Do the engineering so that you're putting the right fixtures in the right place. You're dealing with these issues of glare, of shine, of what's the right lighting. And at the end of the day, you save that money. Now that's really kind of interesting for now, and it's a huge number. But there's a lot of other stuff that you buy when you buy this that's exciting for the future. These lights come with a nodule on them that is an interface nodule that you can plug other things into. So as the technology develops and cheapens over the years, you can fit these lights with wireless hotspots. So you want to feed downtown with free Wi-Fi. You can negotiate with Comcast to wire up to the head. The head gets a plug-in and it becomes a wireless hotspot. You want to know where people are parking. You can put a nodule in that will read where the cars are on the street. You can set it up so that from an internet connection, you can dim the lights. You can turn them off. You can turn them up. There's a lot of really neat stuff going around the country with LEDs. In Portland, they are giving the police the ability to turn individual lamps on from their squad cars. So if they're in an area and they want the lights up, they can turn the lights on. They can turn them off the rest of the time. You can manipulate the lights. You can and disperse groups with them. You can have them come on in an area where you have a bar. When the bar closes, lights come up, reduces crime. It's up for an hour, it goes down. It's really cool stuff. I mean, as you can tell, I've been into this LED lighting for about a year now, and it's very cool stuff. These things are all pretty expensive right now to add, but within a couple of years, they're going to go down, way down in price. And you might want to do that in terms of economic development benefits, in terms of public safety. You might turn a neighborhood off. Say that people don't want the lighting after 10 o'clock. You can turn them off. You can program them to turn off. They'll have so much flexibility over your street lighting, and it'll all be run by the town of Vernon, not by Eversource. So that's kind of a nutshell.
Okay. With that information in mind, some more particular questions. The amount of lighting on each lamp, is it going to be, in lumens, is it going to be comparable to the bulbs we're replacing?
Yes, but they'll account when they do the light engineering for the difference in the color. Because as the color changes, the visibility changes. I'm not an engineer, you know that. So, but they are Tanco, and they will be analyzing those issues so that we're not overlamping, but we're not underlamping.
So our savings is not coming from using less light.
It's coming from using less power. Yes.
That's my point. Thank you.
But like any LED, if you're replacing a 100-watt bulb with a 9-watt bulb, it's 1/10 of the power.
And as long as the amount of light is the same, then we're good.
Right.
The lamps that we're replacing, do these include lamps in the condo areas?
No, these are public streets.
And I presume that we're not dealing with streetlights at all. They'll still be the responsibility of who?
I'm sorry? No, the signal lights. And the state of Connecticut has an LED relamping program that they've been doing for some time.
How did we arrive at this particular company that we're going to charter work?
CCM, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, put out a LED streetlight retrofit program last year in 2014. They invited by RFP, RFQ process nationally for companies to submit proposals on doing this type of program. I was asked to be on the review panel. There were 5 of us from around the state, directors, town managers, to review the proposals, develop, the short list of candidates. We reviewed them, interviewed them, did what we had to do. CCM did the background, the reference checks, and I'll be quite honest, Tanco Lighting was my top selection. It was a top selection of several other directors, and they seemed to have the most experience and the most proficiency at what we were doing. And through that process, now that they've qualified, and 3 companies were recommended to CCM members for the projects.
Through you, Your Honor, is Tanco, as part of that investigation, did you look at their financial situation?
Yes, I got 2 years of financial statements, audited financial statements. They were the only ones who had audited financial statements and submitted them to the group, and I thought that in itself was significant, and I knew you would ask that question. So they were the ones that, I do have copies of their 13 and I think 12 and 13, because we did this in 14, audited financial statements, and they were substantial for a contractor doing this type of work.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Laura? It's your second time.
Now, Tanco, have they done other municipalities in our area?
As I said, we're just getting started in Connecticut, but they have done the town of Sharon, Massachusetts, the town of Winchester, Massachusetts. Those were about 1,600 streetlights apiece, which is about equal to our lighting. And they did the town of Somerville, which is a suburb of Boston, if you know of it, and that was 5,000 streetlights. I have testimonial letters from Sharon, Massachusetts, and from Winchester, and I spoke directly to the chief of staff of the town of Somerville, and he told me they were on time, on budget, a lot of engineering skill and support, excellent response, and no problems at all. And they're just going into their lamping side, part of the projects. The town of Berlin is about where we are. Rocky Hill is going to council next week. I'd like to get in front of them for the installation rather than be behind them. They have tests going on in West Hartford. They're the selected vendor there. They have New London. They're doing tests down there. And East Lyme. And they're all fairly substantial. East Lyme, yeah.
Your front yard?
Yep. So I'm going to have one right outside my house.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So you spoke with the municipality. You've really, okay. My question, though, is they've shown to be reliable, and they make their deadlines, and their experience working with them has been a positive one.
You gotta use the mic.
I'm not close enough. Sorry.
I'll just read you the, and I'll finish them passing them out. This is from the business manager of the town of Winchester, Massachusetts. In the fall of 2014, the town of Winchester awarded Tanco Lighting the LED retrofit project for the town's 1,800 Cobra Head streetlights. From start to finish, Julia Allman and Jason Tanco were true partners with us in every sense of the word. Although the data collection phase at first thought to be a daunting task on our part, Julia and Jason handled it with complete ease. They were extremely helpful in working with the utility for the data reconciliation phase. The audit report and financial analysis was presented to us in a timely fashion. At no point did we ever question that the project could get completed by the deadline. I appreciated their hands-on philosophy, no matter the task. Their project management skills during the installation phase were exceptional. We got weekly status reports indicating which streets were complete, and any changes were identified and reviewed with us immediately. Even when Julia and Jason were back in California, they would conduct a conference call to review any changes to the report by location, wattage, lumens, etc., over the phone via Skype screen share. When a couple of residents complained about the light shining too brightly in their homes, Julia was right there on the phone recommending which type of house shield to order and how to have our electrician install it. They even met with our school resource officer to review dangerous intersections in town or near schools that required additional lighting. I highly recommend the team at Tanco for any municipality looking to retrofit streetlights. So that's a fairly, I've never written that glowing a report about anyone.
My next question.
Use your mic. Use your mic.
Off on me. Okay. So, Tanco would have to work directly in some way with Eversource, and you have stated that Eversource is not making this process really easy for the municipalities because they basically would be losing money in the process because of the price of the or the cost of the towns paying for electricity. Have they shown that they're working well with Eversource? Are they able to make sure that they're getting it done if Eversource roadblocks or anything for the material and stuff?
Once we buy the fixture, there won't be anything to argue about. I mean, once we buy everything from Eversource and it's ours, we're only doing the data reconciliation on what we actually find in the field. We don't have anything to do with them really anymore.
Okay, it's good to know. I'm done, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bob. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Got it.
Good evening, Bob. How are you? Can you just explain to me on the second page there, you said as part of the acquisition, the town would be responsible for the maintenance of the lights. Maintenance involves what? And then 83 poles, but we don't own the poles.
Yes, we would own the poles at that point. Yes, and we would own all the lights. So we have to maintain them. Now, the good news on the LEDs is that, you know, they're rated for 100,000+ hours, which is about 23 years, because the street light's on average 12 hours a day. So if you know, you'll have some degree of failure rate in the early years. You have a 5-year warranty, but somebody still has to change it. So you'll have costs there. If somebody hits a pole and it comes down, well, changing the light is, CLMP is not going to do that for you anymore. You have to have a vendor who will do that, and then you bill the insurance company for it. So we would take a maintenance plan, which Tanco has made us a proposal on. You would use a local vendor, but they have a call center and the software designed on GIS overlay to take these calls, and they would coordinate the replacement of these items. And there would be a cost in that, and they've proposed to us 3 different plans, which we haven't committed to any yet, but in the pro forma, we used the most expensive plan, which had the most benefits. And those plans range from 50 cents a fixture per month to $1.50. And that's something that is netted out in that $3.7 million savings, even after acquiring, paying for, and maintaining. That's still the net savings.
Okay, so that I understand it correctly, with that turnkey management program, that was netted out in the $3 million savings?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim tells me it was.
Jim tells you, okay. So then if you're saying the town is responsible for the maintenance of the lights, you're actually, because I'm assuming you'd have to have some sort of certified electrician to handle that?
They would.
So
in the turnkey relationship,
you're having one of their electricians from some local facility?
they would qualify. They're electrical contractors, so they would qualify the local electrician who would be responding, and then, you know, do the supervision and the reporting of it. I don't want to be in the streetlight business. We don't have the capability to be in the streetlight business.
So
and
what part of the maintenance would the town be responsible for when it says the town would be responsible?
Well, we're responsible for it, but we would subcontract it out. Yep.
Just wanted to understand.
Yep.
And then the turnkey management program, the 3 options,
That's what I'm speaking of.
involves anything to do with repair, replace, the poles, an accident? And,
Yes.
And at what point do you determine which proposal you're going to go with?
And then, yeah, I mean, you're contracting for a period of years.
Okay,
And it's not 20, it's like 3 year.
okay, all right.
So, you know, I would go in a little bit heavier than see what our experience is, and then if we can cut back to one of the lesser programs or a different vendor or whatever, you know, we'll have more time to analyze that. But the day that we give them the check and CLMP switches our rate, they're ours. So it's important to have someone in line that's able to deal with Mrs. Jones's streetlights out in front of her house, or a car knocks down a pole.
You wouldn't have to worry about anything with the pole and the light, if I'm looking at this correctly, that would involve any kind of, say, from Eversource. Because Eversource would be completely out of the picture.
Right.
There's no part of the pole, the lamp, the light, other than the electricity fee that you're paying for that electricity.
Yes.
Okay, so they have no say in who climbs the pole or who changes the light or what light fixture to use.
Yeah, they probably have some say in who's climbing their pole. It's still their pole on the poles that they continue to own.
But I thought we owned the 83 poles.
No, only 83. There are a couple thousand poles in town.
She's just talking about the 83 right now.
The 83 poles that we would own, they're ours. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Eversource has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I thought you were referring to the other poles.
What what's happening with the other poles? We're replacing just the light with the other poles, but we're not owning the
Yes.
the pole.
Yes. So there's a pole out front. It's got an electric line on it. It's got cable. It's got all these things on it. The only thing that we're buying is the arm and the light.
Okay, so you don't anticipate Eversource any issue with you trying to get up to that light fixture on their pole?
No, it's just, there will be that language in the agreement when we buy it.
Okay.
But that's for the lawyers, not me.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wouldn't want anything to come down like that they would want.
No, it's just like when AT&T gets up on their pole, or Comcast, or anybody who has more on a CLMP pole.
All right, thank you so much.
Through you, Mayor. Bob, question. You had mentioned before, if Vernon's responsible for turning lights on and off, are we currently doing this now?
No, I said that's something that we could think about in the future.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's just, well, if that's going to happen in the future, is there a particular department in town that would be responsible for that?
Probably the mayor. No, I'm just kidding. Have you been naughty or nice? No, that would be something that would develop as we go. This is a baby. I mean, we need to get to the step of putting the light on the pole and saving the money. What we do with them in the future, I'm sure that process will develop over this council or future councils about who, how, and what. That's not where we are now. We're not shutting poles down. We're not dimming lights. That kind of thing would make sense if we were might make sense to look at if we were on a metered rate from CLMP, but these are still flat. I'm sorry, I go back the old way, CLMP.
Okay. Go ahead, I understand.
A metered rate would give you an incentive if you shut lights lower or you turn them on. It could give you a financial incentive for doing that, but on a flat rate, there's no incentive, so you leave them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, my next question through the mayor is, you were talking about the town responsibility in regards to, if we went with, the turnkey preventative maintenance plan. Does that include a yearly inspection on any of those lights to go around and make sure that everything's functioning properly? Or do we just call when there's an issue?
I'm not sure. I'm not that far into the maintenance plans on this.
Having a dad that's an engineer, it's like preventative maintenance has been drilled into my head over the years.
Well, these are pretty much zero maintenance, and you're going to call when there's a problem. I'm not 100% sure. I could spend 5 minutes and read and tell you, but
okay, no, that's
I
fine.
can let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Holly.
Good evening. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Kleinhans, could you explain a little bit more on turnkey management? And say a pole goes down, do they come out immediately and do it, or that haven't?
Well, the call will get to them. They'll dispatch the on-call electrical contractor that they've arranged to deal with it in the town of Vernon. Mm-hmm. It might be dealing with a couple of towns. They're not necessarily a guy right here, but they will have a vendor who's on 24/7 call. And they will dispatch them and then follow up with them and administer them.
Do we have a rate that has any contract been set, or what our rates?
No.
If it's at night or during the day or ice storm or whatever?
There's a certain amount of response that's included in that rate. Okay, so you get the X number of poles per year, X number of light fixtures are included in what we're paying them for that $20,000, $30,000. Mm-hmm. That's something that we're going to go through on the budget side at budget time, over which one we want to do, and we'll make a more comprehensive presentation on it at that time. Mm-hmm. The three plans are you're covered on X, but you got to pay overages for this. B, you get covered for a little more. C, you get covered for a certain number of events that happen every year. on poles, on heads, on arms, and your costs, your minor costs are more set into that rate.
Could you give me an idea what the cost of the study was?
The audit is $9,000, but it's included in the if we execute the longer contract, it's in that price. There's no extra cost.
Okay. You mentioned that we're buying the arms and the fixture.
From CL&P, yes.
Or CLP, whatever.
Whatever.
No, it's all Eversource anyway. Just my daughter lives in New Hampshire, and they same issue, and I wonder if we're doing it is buying longer arms or ones with a higher arc, so that the light spreads out more than the arms that we have now. Probably been around since 1950s. Some are a little longer and some are shorter, because the higher it is, the more the light spreads out.
That's not been part of the discussion at all. However, we are carrying contingency in the contract amount that would cover things that we find we need that we're not accounting for.
Yeah.
But as far as a wholesale arm replacement, no, it's not. It's not something that's been an issue.
Okay. Do we have a statement of any kind of a warranty from the manufacturer?
5 year.
5 years, okay. Say it comes off when somebody has an accident. Do we collect that back through the insurance?
Yes.
Okay. There's one more thing. That would be the driver's insurance, right? Not the town's insurance.
Should be, yeah. That's the way that usually works.
All right. And what is our average per light cost?
I think it's $308.
$308.
That's the total solution. I think it's the net cost. That's the cost of engineering, audit, all the installation, the fixture, on average is $308.
Okay. I know when you change to LED lights in your home, you can go smaller. Most of, from what I understand, are 70 watt that are here. What kind of? I'm not sure what the conversion is.
There are.
Are we going to an equivalent or a little bit?
There are 3 fixtures that we're talking about. I didn't bring the conversions, but I think if you'll give me 1 second, I'll see if I can find
Is that in the packet that you gave us?
I'm not. Okay. So your existing wattage, there are several different types of fixtures that are out there, and it can run anywhere from, we have 1,350 fixtures in town that are 84 watts would be reduced to 29 watts. We have 248 fixtures, the high-pressure sodiums, that are 311 watts that would be reduced to 91 watts. Companies will look at this business once, 100 municipalities have LED streetlights. Somebody with a bucket truck and electrical license is going to say, I can do this for 75 cents and a pole. And I think it will evolve that way. But in the short term, I think my experience with the contractors that applied in the CCM RFP, RFQ, these guys were the best qualified to meet our needs today.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Bill?
Thank you. Through you, Your Honor. I understand that the hardware that we're putting on is General Electric products, is that correct?
Yes.
Next question, who's going to negotiate the contract with this vendor? Who does that? Do we have a town attorney that's involved, or is there some attorney? Are you doing it?
John and I usually are involved in it. Mr. Ward.
Okay.
He's an attorney.
And who's going to manage this project? In other words, somebody's got to say, these light bulbs are being changed at a certain rate so that we're going to have them all changed by a certain time. Who's going to monitor the progress of this?
You're looking at him.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jim?
Through the mayor. Hey, Bob, question. With all these new utility poles that are going up around town, they're replacing the old ones. The ones that have the lights on them, the current arms, what, once we assume control of the lights and they have to replace a pole, how is that going to be done? As far as them putting the whole new arm up?
I would assume that they'll replace they'll replace it unless we were to pay for it, or give them, or do it after they put it back up, a new arm.
Would that be the utility company or Tanco?
It would be the vendor, or we could hire direct, I'm sure, to do something like that. They'd be our fixtures.
Just one more quick question. I presume this includes just the town, it doesn't include the state roads, the lights that are on the state roads through town, Routes 83 and 30.
Yes, it does.
Oh,
You own those.
1,000, so that's within the 1,694
Yes.
streetlights. So it's every single road in town?
Yes.
Including,
Anyone else? Mr. Winkler?
Through the mayor or to the mayor to Mr. Kleinhans, are these streetlights, these few streetlights, clustered in any particular area?
Which ones are you talking about?
The ones that we're buying?
No, if you
You talking about the pole or the light, all the lights?
I'm talking about the 9 poles we're talking about?
Oh, the 83 poles. I haven't seen the exact locations on them, but they're probably clustered in developments that have underground utilities and only have street lights.
Okay.
That's typically where that program was. Trying to think of specifics, but I'm at a loss.
Risen.
Yeah. The newer subdivisions, the thing that off of West Road that was just built that would have that. Yeah.
Okay. The answer to one of the questions surprised me. Okay, Eversource was northeast. CLNP owns the other poles?
Yeah, I don't know who owns what. A lot of the poles that you see that you think would be Eversource's pole or CLMP's or whoever's might be an AT&T pole. It's really gets kind of confusing out there on the street.
They're owned by several different.
Yeah, they can be owned by SNET, they can be owned by AT&T.
Right.
God only knows.
Now, the town of Plainfield is replacing 120 poles, and they're integrating a free Wi-Fi network for the town center as part of that LED light replacement. That's something we considered?
Yeah, at Plainville, not Plainfield. There's some real controversy over what the contractor has promised there and how much it's going to cost the town. As I understand it, for a modest-sized business district, Comcast is going to look for somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $50,000 annually to supply the internet to that, not $7,000 that they were sold on a number. Yeah, there's some issues there. I've been talking with the contractor about it. Again, as this develops, we'll get better numbers and see how that goes. I wouldn't jump into that today.
The number I'm looking at is 3,700.
Yeah, I called Tanco about that, and I got a half an hour in my ear of why that is never going to happen. So.
One final question. Do the fixtures have to change to install LED lights? Do we need a new fixture, or can they just?
No, yes, it's a total new fixture. I have a picture.
Is the arm integrated with the fixture?
No.
So they can just replace the
Yes.
arm?
That's what they look like. Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's adjustable from 1.25 to 2-inch arm.
Okay. And last question, is this the only buying of poles we intend to do in the near future?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Steve.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's for you to Mr. Kleinhans. Okay, Bobby. So far, the numbers all sound right. They all sound good. But my antenna always go up because you have and I do own businesses. And the thing that concerns me is not what we know, but what we don't know. And I don't know how to find out what I don't know at this point in time. There's been some answers to some of your questions that have been, I'm not sure that we'll figure it out when we get there. Now, we just hear that this $7,000 became $30,000 to $50,000. There's things like that concern me. So, a couple of things. Number one, is the real reason nobody is here from Tanco is because the only guy that could possibly be here is on vacation?
I told them that we were going to go to council with this week. Joe Bollinger, who's the national sales director who I've been dealing with, said, that's bad, I'm going to be on vacation. And Elliot Feldman, who's the project manager dealing with Connecticut, is here next week because of the holiday. I said, don't worry about it, I'll go. I have a great relationship with the council and I'll take care of it. That's the truth. And it was not on radar to drag them in and get into the weeds on the high level I didn't think it was necessary on a $3.7 million savings. My fault, if anything, but there was a vacation involved.
Little skepticism. It's just what it is. All right. We've heard testimony from 3 towns, or read testimony from 3 towns that are reasonably new to this, and one from has some history with it. But there's supposed over 20 towns in Massachusetts and Connecticut that have done this. Me personally, I'd like to have the opportunity to speak to more of those.
No, they're not 20 towns that have done this. There are 20 towns that are in process on this or have done it. So, like, when they say when I tell you that West Hartford is in the planning process of it, they have sample street lights up on poles and they're doing this big project because that's what they do in West Hartford. And that's one of their clients, but it's not a complete project. I can give you the names of the towns that they're dealing with, which are Griswold, Glastonbury, Wolcott, Seymour, Groton, Jewett City, Rocky Hill, New London, Berlin, and West Hartford, East Lyme, and us.
I'd be much more interested, on people here and see what their experiences have been.
I can give you a
California companies even, or cities.
I can give you a few testimonials that one of them I have is on the city of Stamford from, I I believe, 2011 that did 140, they did 1,000 GE Cobra head fixtures, and this is the Trade Magazine article from them doing that. I can tell you that East Hartford has completed their relighting, and I have newspaper articles from the Hartford Courant from when they started and when they completed. They just completed in July. You know, that's what I have.
Okay, again, through you, Ron. Is there another reason than the $18,000 to move ahead with this tonight? Or is that the motivating factor, the savings of the 18?
There's that reason, and there's the reason that they're dealing with all these other towns who are going to start to pull the trigger, because Eversource is just starting to get the buyout numbers to these towns, and you have to pull the trigger within 3 months, or they are going to start the process over, and it's going to put you out another 4 or 5 months. I mean, I tortured our Eversource representative to get these numbers for us. And if they hadn't had the mass casualty hurricane drill or tornado drill, when I was able to physically get on her, get me these numbers, and I got them within a couple of days. I've waited 5 months for something that was statutorily supposed to be done in 2 months. You're just going to be behind people. You know, they're going to take who books first, they're going to order, and then they're going to install. You get on the back side of that, you may have to wait longer. And every month, it's not just the 1 month, it's every month as you go ahead. I don't care. I mean, but it seems to me that the more important thing is to pull the trigger on it and go start the savings. But that's just me.
I still have the floor. You and I differ there a little bit. I think I'm personally more concerned of successful histories. I'd like to see them here so that we could ask some questions about what's gone wrong other places. I mean, we've got a really rosy picture here, and I believe these numbers are true. They probably can't fabricate these going in. I just don't know what Compton, California looks like today, 3 years after they did it, et cetera, et cetera. If we had the opportunity and 2 weeks didn't make a difference, is it unthinkable to have them here for the next meeting?
I have no idea of their schedules, and it's getting in the holidays. I really don't know.
Okay, well, it came upon us quickly, and we're presented with tonight came on us quickly, okay, since Friday. And I just have a little trepidation about moving this quickly without some of these other things that I'd like to have answered by certain people. If I'm one guy and it goes, so be it, but I'd really like to see somebody here from California. Thank you.
Polly?
Like I say, in New Hampshire, they've been studying this for over 2 years, and they still haven't come to an agreement with it. I have to agree with Steve. I'm not an engineer. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do think it might behoove us to wait a little bit and see some of the others installed and find out what some of the problems are down the road. This is a whole new thing, and maybe by the time they got to us, if we're a month or two behind it, a lot of the kinks will be worked out, and we don't always have to be the first one in getting it done. I know it's supposedly an $18,000 a month savings, but it may cost us that if we don't do it in the right way.
Any other questions? Bill, you already went twice. Use your mic.
To you, Mr. Mayor, looking at the motion, if I understand it correctly, if we approve this proposed motion, we will not see this contract, which hasn't been negotiated yet, come before us for approval later. We're approving this the way it's worded, a contract that has not been written. Am I correct in that interpretation of the resolution?
Yes, you're correct.
So then we're being asked to approve a contract we haven't seen. Okay, then I would like to have a 5-minute recess if questions are over.
Yeah, we're authorizing to negotiate, so that's what we're doing.
To enter into an agreement to execute all necessary documents for same. So that would seem to me that it would be negotiated without further approval by the council.
Right. Brian?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Kleinhans. How many fixtures did you say? I think you mentioned 1854 when you were talking one time.
Yeah.
And I see, and our 1694.
1694, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just wanted a
Yep.
clarification. So what is the time frame? Have they expressed it to you that they would take? If you said yes today, they started replacing them tomorrow, how long is it going to take them?
I would say 6 weeks.
Are they doing the work, or is there a contractor who does the
Contractor.
maintenance? Okay, so it's not going to be.
A contractor.
Is there, like, we're going to buy them from GE, so you got to call GE and say, send us X amount of X style, X amount of
Right.
Y style.
They will do that.
They'll do that?
It's a turnkey solution.
Tanco has decided which ones go where,
Based on the audit.
based on their audits. So I assume not all the streetlights here,
Right.
right? Because I've never even paid.
There are maybe 10 different styles.
Okay. Does CLMP charge pole rental for people to use, or the people who own the telephone poles? Do they charge pole rental for Comcast to use it, or do we pay pole rental for fiber optics in the town?
No.
Okay. Can't remember if that was a state law or something. Did you mention whether they were going to have multiple bulbs? Again, that goes back to the audit. Multiple bulb styles, multiple lumens, or multiple, just based on their audit says this is an A thing, we're replacing with an A, this is a B, we're replacing with a B, this is C, replacing with a C, or are they saying this is an A, but it really should be a B?
Yeah.
The
The second, they're going to do a full lighting analysis as part of, is the light that's there appropriate?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good.
Is it overlamped? Is it underlamped? You know.
Is there any person in town who could make, advise them, like with the police chief or the police say, hey, this one we think is underlit at the corner of Union and Ward, we want it more.
Yeah, that's part of their process as well.
And is there any facility in here to add, like if they say, well, we have 1694, but really you have, this is too far of a distance between this one, we should put one in the middle.
That's why we're carrying a contingency.
That's the contingency.
Yeah.
What else is that contingency for?
Contingent items.
The unknown.
Contingencies.
And the only thing I have to say is, in our package, we got 2 pages. Mr. Ludicky shuffling through all this stuff when we asked you questions. It really would be cool if we could have that information in town council packet next time. You just have to scan it in and send it to us, whomever's responsible for that. I would appreciate it. That would be sort of more interesting next time to look at that, because you don't have any pictures, do you, of what, like a before and an after? That would have been interesting to see also. Or somebody would have said, hey, go to West Hartford, go down Farmington Avenue, and you could tell us, because I gather it's dramatic, but I don't understand.
It is. It's a lot better light. I mean, but that's why you have me to go out and do that legwork work and come back and share that with you.
But I like to see for myself. And
Yeah.
also when I changed my over-the-kitchen thing from bulbs to, it's very nice.
I went late at night and was on Farmington Ave, and I paid attention to how did that light bounce back into the houses, which are fairly close there, And it was shielded from the houses. It was the street, it was the cars, it was great clarity, and it wasn't a lot of glare back into the yard. No, certainly less than the high-pressure sodiums were.
The question I have for you is, if a light bulb is out, a homeowner may call Eversource. They're going to say, it's not us, call the town. How does that work?
I'm sure, or we'll do public service announcements, and
Advertise that.
you know, whether it's call us and we call it in the beginning, or whether it's call a number. You know, we call CLMP an awful lot because people call us for streetlights out on a regular basis.
So if part of Tanco service, would they provide an 800 number? You just mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a call center
Interesting
thing.
to just have a little thing, like refrigerator magnet, street light out, call.
Or, you know, they can report it to us, and then we can track it as well.
Well, I know, but we could be out of the, you know.
Well, you don't want to be too.
This is Anne Marie, you know.
You don't want to be too. She loves it. So
I know. Can we? Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you, Your Honor, through you. I was just reading here the further resolved, and it talks about utilizing a 5-year payback period with repayment to come from rebate incentives. And what are who's the rebates from, and what are they like?
Eversource, and it's about $177,000.
Why would they rebate us when we're taking
Because
it away from
because it's Eversource.
Okay.
They're incentivizing us to reduce our electricity, just like they do for you at home. And, you know, they give us rebates when we relamped all the town buildings and parking lots and stuff. They gave us rebates on all that.
So we don't want to buy stock in Eversource, right?
I wouldn't.
Very much.
You did it twice, Polly.
Very simple.
No, you already did 2 times, didn't you?
Yes.
Yep.
I can't ask a question?
We're at 2 times, and that's what we're supposed to be at. Yeah, and you should make all that. Any other questions? Steve?
This is through you, Your Honor, and it may be for Mr. Ward. I'm not sure. But Mr. Kleinhans probably has a handle on this. How long from tonight would it take to get to a contract stage? Writing of the contract.
Through you, Your Honor, barring any interruptions with the holidays, 2 to 3 weeks. I assume Tanco has a template or a standard contract. I would ask them to send it up. Mr. Kleinhans would look at it, I would look at it, and then send it to one of the town attorneys for a final review. So, barring any unforeseen complications from Eversource, 2 to 3 weeks.
Could we get it for the 15th?
Yes.
Well, that's where I'm going. I would very much, I don't have a problem at all with here. Matter of fact, I think it's a great idea. But I don't like the idea of a contract going forward without council approval. So I would like to postpone this until such time as, even if it requires a special meeting between the holidays, that the contract is prepared for us to look at, prepared and approved by the town for us to look at, before I'm prepared to vote yes on this.
Do we postpone or do we do it another way? Hold on. Postpone? Okay.
Through to Mr. Ward again, is that postponed to a date certain?
You can do it that way, and that is the recommended way when you want to basically transfer an agenda item to a future meeting. It would be a motion to postpone to, in this case, December 15th agenda.
Well, then I'm going to recommend postponing till the January 15 meeting.
December.
I mean, December. You're going to be ready for December 15? No way. postpone or motion to postpone each time we bring this thing up if the contract is not ready to be seen by us with a few days ahead to study it.
Okay.
So I would, if the agreement here is to put it on the 15th of December, that's fine, but we may just do this all over again. So for today, is that what y'all want? I'm going to motion for the 15th. I'm going to motion a postponement to the 15th of December in anticipation of a contract, but will tell you that I will go again if it's not ready.
Okay. Davis? Okay. I didn't hear your second. All right, Polly, you can have the second. If I can't hear you, I can't hear you. You got to speak up so I can hear you. All right, we have a second. Any questions? Mr. Winkler? This is on the postponement.
To the chair or through the chair to Mr. Kleinhans. We have done parts of the country before,
Yes.
and their reputation is good.
That's what I've seen from the local references. That
Right. And you believe there probably is a boilerplate contract, and if there were hidden disasters in that contract, they probably would have been ferreted out by now through somebody's bad experience in another part of the country?
This basically was a two-part contract, and we vetted the first part of it when we did the audit.
Okay.
So I don't foresee a problem with the second half of it.
Right. The only reason I asked those questions was to speak to the motion to postpone. There are costs involved in micromanaging departments. I know it's not an easily intuitive thing, but if you hang somebody up every time they try to do something because you want to see every detail, you do cost yourself money in the long run, and you end up with a bunch of departments that show no initiative. So I'm actually opposed to postponing only because I think that we should have a little faith in our departments. I think we should have some faith in Mr. Kleinhans. I think we should have some faith in Town Administrator Ward, that they will do what's in our best interests. And I do think they're competent in these matters. Thank you.
Anyone else? You can call it any time. 5-minute break then.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. We still have the motion on the floor to push this off until the 15th. Bill?
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, I would like to make an amendment to the amendment, and to amend it to say we would approve the resolution pending final town council approval of the contract. The idea being that we want to see the final contract.
Who was the original maker of that?
Steve.
Steve, you go with that too?
If the end result is the same, yes.
Wait, who's the seconder? Holly was. Holly has to go with that too. Is it a friendly amendment or no? Steve? Anybody else have an opinion on that, Mr. Winkler?
Yes, the first line says that we approve, and the last line says we approve subject to. I see an internal contradiction. I think that we should probably vote on the motion the way it is, and if the majority of the council wants to vote it down, I think we should vote down the amendment to the motion because I think it establishes an internal contradiction that the motion itself makes no sense, and then we should vote on the original motion, and if people want to delay, all they have to do is vote down the original motion. Thank you.
Do you want to fix your motion? Because it's not going to work. That's what I'm saying. It's just not going to work.
Well, let me just first make clear, the purpose of this is not a delay. It's precisely the opposite. I'm not sure how to fix the motion so that the council gets to approve the final contract. The way this is written, we are voting to approve a contract that hasn't been written and that we haven't seen. And I have a problem with that.
Ginny?
I agree with your comments, Bill, too. But I'm looking at that first, the paragraph, and it seems to me what's missing for all of us is that to execute any and all necessary documents for the same and bring it to the council. In other words, it should have been in there that it would be coming to the council, whatever our time frame is, because we agree we don't want to delay this anymore. But that's what's missing to me.
In all fairness to the wording that's here, what I'm asking for the council to do here is not the way we would normally deal with a contract like this. Normally, we would deal with it just the way it's worded. We would let administration go off and work the contract and come up with it, and that's it, and we wouldn't see it again. But I'm saying that I think in this particular instance, the importance of the subject, it's the responsibility of the council to see that contract and to vote it up or down and be counted.
Anybody else? Well, we have to vote on his motion first. Laura. You unplugged it.
All right, we'll try this again. Okay. My feelings is that I would like to go forward with this and absolutely approve this because I think that savings for the town is wonderful. I think that Bill's idea of seeing the contract first shows that we're doing our due diligence, and I think that is important as well. I I think that the feeling is we want to do this no matter what, but we want to be able to just review that contract so that we're making sure that, you know, the town is looked after, to make sure that everything is in place, the maintenance is the way we want it, everything is in place. So that's the only reason that I would like to see the contract. But my feeling is I do want to go forward. Mr. Kleinhans has vetted this company. He's a person that I trust with dealing with the contractors and things like that. But I would say that I would approve going forward with this, but I still do want to see that contract just to make sure it's what is best for Vernon.
Any other questions on that? Do you guys understand what the amendment was? Bill, can you read your amendment to him again?
Yeah.
They oppose each other. Basically, we can never come back. Right.
And then perhaps we should add there, say, except that the final version of the contract must be approved by the town council.
It's the same thing. It's saying that you have permission, but you don't have permission. That's basically what you're saying. We'll vote the way you have it. I mean, but I think it's gonna.
As long as the intent is clear here, I think we're okay. But if there's confusion about the intent, then I would withdraw the amendment.
Motion made by Mr. Campbell, seconded by Ms. Bush, to approve this motion, subject to approval of contract.
May I comment on that? I don't see how you can do that because you would have already executed the documents. You would have signed them already. It doesn't make
Suppose, given time, I can reword the original motion for you, if you want to take another recess. What we would have to do at that point would be to commit an amendment to modify the proposed motion, or alternately vote it down and make a second motion, however you wanted to handle it. Okay, if that's what you want to do. But it's up to you, Mr. Mayor, you're the chair. I can withdraw the motion if you'll give us time to rewrite the proposed motion. So requested.
on, boss.
Sorry.
Is there any more questions on Bill Campbell's motion? Yes.
Your Honor, through you. One possibility here.
We're on the motion.
We're not talking about the motion. I'm prepared to withdraw the motion and to
You're prepared?
suggest,
You prepared, or are you withdrawing it?
I will withdraw my amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
That one's withdrawn.
Now, I would like to propose a change. I'm standing on the chair and the cable's only so long. I would like to propose an amendment to the proposed motion that reads as follows. It stays the same as down to the line Administrator John D. Ward 2, and then eliminate enter into and say negotiate agreements, plural, with Tanco Lighting for final approval by the town council, period. And if I get a second and this is approved, then it doesn't have the problems we had originally, and if it doesn't get approved, we vote on the original motion with no amendments.
Could you say Tanco Lighting and all other contracts?
It's already been done. Why don't,
Which we're not talking about in what the motions are is buy the streetlights from CLMP, Eversource, and hire these folks to do the retrofit and borrow the money from ourselves and pay it back over 5 years. That's what the motion is. The contract that we execute with them is going to, that's what it's going to say. It's not, there's not going to be anything different. They're going to say they're going to replace that many things and it's going to cost this much money. That's what the contract's going to say. So that's that. The option of taking the maintenance, which way to go on maintenance is an issue that we can fight all night about. But the other option isn't really going to change. I hope that clarifies it.
Anybody else? Steve.
I'm just going to go back to why I started this whole thing. I realize what you're saying. I totally understand that the numbers we are being presented is as you and everybody else believes them. And the lawyers get their hands on it. And then it's subject to change. I want all that to happen before we give you the go-ahead, that's all.
Anybody else? You're voting on the amendment. Okay, all those in favor of number 1 as amended? No? Or just the amendment? Oh, we're voting on just the amendment. All right, those in favor of the amendment? You gotta put your amendment to this. That's what we're voting on, to amend this, and then we would vote on this as a whole. Right. That's what I'm saying, Bill. All right, all of those in favor of the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of those opposed? Wait, what happened? Okay, all those opposed to the amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any Any? So your favorite, so it's a 7 to 5. Did you get that, 7 to 5? Okay, the amendment passes. Now we're voting on it as a whole with the amendment. All those in favor of new business number 1, please raise your hand. Raise it up so I can see it. I got to make sure I got to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of those opposed to new business number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abstentions. Ginny abstained. Okay. So the amendment passes with the changes. All right. All right, new business number 2.
Request the town council, Your Honor, request the town council approves the disposal or sale at public auction, the town council hereby approves the disposal or sale at public auction of items from Rockville High School and Northeast School as disclosed on the fixed asset disposal request forms.
Seconded by Steve. Questions? No? All those in favor? Unanimous. Minutes.
Your Honor, the town council waives the reading of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 17th, 2015, and that minutes of said meeting be approved.
Kim, did you say that? Kim seconded. Any deletions, corrections, or anything like that? No? All those in favor? Unanimous. Steve?
Move to adjourn.
Seconded by Steve. All those in favor? Unanimous.